I'd
Started.
like to call the Center County Board of Elections meeting for Tuesday, March 2nd to order at 11:08. And at this time, if there's anybody here for public comment, either something on or off the agenda, now would be a great time to address the board. Hearing nobody for public comment, let's move ahead to approval of the minutes of the Board of Elections meeting held on Thursday, February 18th.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I will second the motion.
All right, properly moved and second. Any additions or discussions or corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Okay, under new business, looking forward to the primary election for May 2021. Let's look at, I guess I'll turn it over to either Tish or Jody who want to cover the mail-in envelopes and the postage.
So working with the percentage that the state provides of what we're to order, plus incorporating the new mail-in ballots, that's how we discovered our totals at the 18,000 overall, and then we had to break it down. We needed, of course, the 18,000 outgoing, which is generic. We needed to break down separately the affidavit envelopes, which needed broken out into mail-in and absentee. Obviously, we're anticipating a much smaller absentee volume, which is why it's a much smaller amount. And then, of course, the secrecy envelopes are exactly the same as well. That's basically how we came to the totals for those. Just a heads up, they did change the affirmation on the back of the envelopes, and it just now requires the signature and the date, I believe. They took away the printed name and the address. I would have to double check that, but that's nice for the voters. As far as postage paid, the state obviously is not covering that. This would be a decision for the board. I did get a response from Department of State, and the ballot return postage that was paid for Center County from October 10th through December 5th, which includes late ballots, was $5,610.97. Now, in order, if you guys would decide to, again, do postage paid, we would have to procure a business reply envelope permit. There are fees involved with that. I spoke to the Regional Postal Service yesterday. There's two different types of permits price-wise. You could choose, and this is usually used for people anticipating a small volume, to pay a $245 fee. In addition to, there's two applications that have to be filed. They would create a unique zip +4, and you guys would have to determine an amount that you would want to be placed in an account for usage. Using this option, the postage billed per piece would be approximately 63 cents per return ballot. The second option is typically used for large volumes. It's anticipated at accumulated total, because there are two separate fees, of $3,200. In addition to filing the two applications, you still would get the unique zip +4. You still would have to determine an amount credited. And using option 2, the postage billed per piece would be approximately 55 cents. Just keep in mind, if this is a decision the board is leaning to, the Postal Service has to create artwork for the permit. It has to be given to our envelope supplier, added to the proofs, and we do have to get approval. So, of course, at this point, time is an issue. And if I give a recommendation, I would, financially, it doesn't really seem beneficial to pay $3,200 in fees when there was only $5,610 paid out and posted by the state. That seems a lot. Now, the postage rate, if you only pay the $245 fee, is higher, of course, almost 8 cents-ish. So those are just some food for thought. Our quote for our overall total of 54,000 envelopes from Grove Printing It's $4,016.88. I did confirm with them there will be a small price change because the proof has to be changed, but it would be less than $100. So that's kind of the summation on postage and envelopes.
All right, thank you. Okay, any thoughts from the board?
And to layer onto Tisha's to give a little more context as well, that roughly $5,000 that was paid for by the state through postage for returned ballots. It was interesting to see how our mail-in ballots were returned in the 2020 general election. We had about 32,000 that were returned ultimately by the voters, and Sam Reese was able to look through all the different ways that they were returned, drop boxes, through the mail, etc. About 20,000, a little over 20,000, were actually returned by Dropbox. And so about 2 out of 3 ballots that were returned, the vote by mail ballots, about 2 out of 3 were actually by Dropbox. So in that case, the postage wasn't paid. And you had about 11,000 ballots or so that were returned by the mail, which would make sense, about 55 cents a ballot or envelope, and you get about 5,000, a little bit over $5,000. So if we use drop boxes, and again, there's really no cost to set. We already have them. We have the designs. We just set them up. There would be some costs related to the picking up of the ballots and transporting them back to the Willowbank building. But in terms of the way the postage is going to sync up and the way that the envelopes would have to get printed in the time frame we have, I think the only way that we could do it for the primary would be if we could utilize the state's not logo, but their permit, and if they could just bill us. So if they were able to, obviously they were able to figure out how many ballots they paid for us in the general. If they would just want to or ask us for reimbursement, I think that'd be the cleanest way to do it in the time that we have. But if they're not willing to do it, I think we can, we can consider this for the general election. But I really think the only way we could do it in a timely way would be to utilize the state's permit. That would be my suggestion as well.
Michael, I did send an email yesterday to, of course, some of our higher contacts about potentially utilizing it. I have got no response. And to be honest, I won't be surprised if I don't, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Sure. Well, I think there's a drop dead date for sure. And if we don't hear anything back from them, then we would have to proceed with the printing. We are, slowly approaching the deadline for getting the ballots to us, in the next several weeks. So, probably again in the coming weeks. So, we can go, but that would be. I don't think that we should create one at this point, just because of the uncertainty of what that would look like in the future. But try to wait to see back from the Department of State, and maybe do a check-in either on Thursday or Tuesday of next week. And if we haven't heard back a week from today, I think we would have to just forego it and encourage the uses of the drop boxes for folks.
Michael, I'm sorry, I did forget to mention, I talked to Howard and he can essentially print them in pieces. So if we wanted to print the outgoing and the secrecy, that can be done without essentially the finalization of the affirmation incoming envelope.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Those sound like,
go ahead, Mark.
Those sound like good suggestions for the postage. It is interesting to hear that over the long term, the drop boxes could end up saving the county substantial money in postage charges. That's nice.
Well, I probably have a little bit different idea. I don't feel that the county has the responsibility to pay postage. I think it's up to the responsibility of the voter if that's the way they choose to vote. Much like any other time that you use the mail service, that you have to assume that expense yourself. So, from my perspective, I'm ready to go ahead and just print the envelopes. So that's where I'm at.
And I think that's probably where I think probably if the Department of State is not willing for us to utilize their postage or their permit, that we probably will end up in that position as well. I think the only thing that would um, give me the interest in waiting an additional week would just be we are still in a pandemic. To encourage people to have the ability to vote by mail during the pandemic, I think is something we should encourage as much as we can. But again, I think we're probably not going to. And also keeping in mind that $5,000 was for probably the highest turnout election we will see for 4 years. We know that unfortunately it's the way it is, but we go from the highest turnout election in a presidential year to, unfortunately, historically speaking, the lowest turnout election during a municipal primary. And so that number will probably drop considerably with my assumption would be, Commissioner Dershowitz, your point is not the value of the dollars. It's actually just the fact that if they want to vote by that, they can get the stamp or drop it in a drop box. So I appreciate that. But I would just ask maybe I would suggest we go ahead with the printing of the inner secrecy envelope and the outer envelope that we mail the ballot out to the voter in, the packet in, give the okay today, and just wait a week or so until next Tuesday to see if the DOS is said we could use the permit, and if they don't, we just go forward with the printing. That would be my, I guess, compromise at this point.
All right, we'll just move ahead. I would agree. Move ahead with the printing that we are sure of, and then we can make some determination next week about the rest of the printing. So, do we need a motion in that effect, or we just move ahead procedurally?
I'd be happy to, just in case anybody would ask us, about it. I'd be happy to make the motion to approve the printing of the envelopes for inner envelope and the outer envelope, the outer outgoing envelope, and await word from the Department of State for the return outer envelope.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously. We'll move ahead to item B, which is under the Center for Tech and Civic Life grant, the purchase of some items. Who wants to handle those?
Well, I think Tish and Jody could probably hit on both of those from their standpoint of why this would be helpful and assist the office in future elections.
Yeah, so I'll address the time clock. We have a basically desktop timestamp, and we are required to timestamp every piece of mail that comes in the office. The reason we would like a second one is nobody locally services these time clocks, and anytime one goes down, it does have to be sent to Pittsburgh. Of course, that's mailing out time, servicing time, and return time. And sometimes it's a week, which we can't be without a timestamp. So we feel if we could have a second one, it can be used in tandem when they both are in service, and if one's down, we still would have a backup.
And the second item.
The second item I'll touch on, they're ballot tote bins from ES&S. They are blue, well, they're boxes that go inside the ballot box that open up so that when the ballots go in them on election night, all of our poll workers have to do is pull that bin out, close the lid, seal it. It has wheels on and then a handle that will pop up for them to pull it in. I thought it would be beneficial that they had those because it could be sealed, and then for us to keep them and utilize them also for our vote by mail ballots so that every precinct has their own box that their election day and vote by mail ballots and get placed into so that when we are required to do the RLA, all the ballots are in one consistent place. And it also makes it easier for our poll workers, not having to like pull out all the ballots, straighten them up, and put them in the big clear garbage bag that they come back in.
All right. All right. Do we have a motion to purchase the timestamp and the ballot tote bins?
I will make that motion.
I will second that motion.
Okay, properly moved and second. Any other discussion about the purchase of those items? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. Okay, seeing nothing under old business, although, yeah, and then discussion items. Who wants to handle any discussion items?
I don't think we have any today per se. We did get correspondence from the Department of State regarding the issue that we had highlighted last week, and we're going to discuss with Jody and Betsy how best to respond and go from there. But I think that it'll be resolved in the coming weeks ahead.
Okay, I do have one, just by way of review. I've been getting a lot of questions about the, I guess the petition process and the notarization of election petitions. Can we have a recap of what the process is for people who are interested in running for elected office this year?
Sure. They can pick up a petition packet either in the main lobby area of the Willow Bend building, or all the materials can be printed offline at our centercountyvotes.com. Now, whenever we created the packets, the state had yet to provide us any guidance with the notarization documents. So that was not provided until well after the fact. Should someone have difficulty having the two sections notarized, they can either print a declaration, an unsworn declaration, unsworn candidate's declaration in lieu of having the candidate's affidavit signed. And then also there is an unsworn campaign finance statement that the individual can have filled out in lieu of having the waiver of expense notarized. They can print those offline, or whenever they come in to file their paperwork, we can provide that to them as well to put with their petitions. Is that pretty much what you wanted to know, was the in lieu of notarization, or was there more that you would like me to touch on, Steve?
Well, I guess specifically what my concern is, do you need to have something notarized or not? And if not, exactly what is it that they have to, what's the process? It wasn't clear there from your explanation. Sorry.
Okay, no, you do not have to have anything officially notarized on the back of that petition. We have, I'm trying to grab one here real quick to look at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Give me just one hot moment. Okay, the names of the actual documents are unsworn declaration in lieu of sworn statement for campaign finance. So that's in lieu of having the waiver of expense notarized. And then the other document is a candidate's declaration that would get brought in whenever they file their petition. So both of those documents are on the centercountyvotes.com underneath the petition section for countywide and municipal, or whenever they do come in to file their paperwork, we can provide them those papers as well.
So that those documents are available either in your office or online. Now, when it's time for somebody to file their petitions and all their other declarations, will there be specific office hours, or what's the process there, just to be clear?
Sure, we are
at the election office.
Is the elections office what? I'm sorry.
Is the election office open?
We're here, we're doing the petition filing by appointments. We have appointments every 15 minutes. Someone can call our office and we'll schedule that appointment for them, or they can also do that themselves online at the centercountyvotes.com website under candidates information. There is a section specifically for filing your petition, and that's where they can do it online as well. And we are taking appointments from like 9 through 4:30 every 15 minutes.
So every 15 minutes, there is a time slot available for somebody when they want to file their petition paperwork. Now, I guess traditionally, my only concern to that is traditionally there's always been that last minute rush. So if somebody is in that last minute situation, doesn't have the opportunity to quote unquote make an appointment, is there any accommodation for those people?
Not at the moment, but there's nothing in writing or formally done. I just figured we would double up. If there aren't any appointments available for them to book on the 8th or the 9th, we don't have an option. We're going to have to fit them in. So if someone were to call and say that they needed to file their petition work and we knew that every 15 minutes we had an appointment, we could just assign them an appointment, and then, whichever one of those appointment people were here first, we would take them. And that way there's only one person still in the lobby at a time.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear about that because I know I've gotten numerous questions, and traditionally one of the things that occurs, of course, is that there are a lot of last-minute filers that maybe don't know the process, that just assume that they can come in and just file their paperwork at their leisure, and that might not be the case this year. So we just need to make that abundantly clear to all the prospective candidates for all the offices across the county. Okay, are there any other points of discussion this morning? If not, there are a couple of election announcements. Of course, as was just indicated, the last day to circulate and file nominating petitions is Tuesday, March 9th, and the first day to file nominating papers moving forward, if you're not a major candidate, party candidate, is March 10th. So I don't know that there's anything further. I guess I would entertain a motion. Well, I guess before we adjourn, are there any questions? Marley, are you still on the line?
I am, but I don't have any questions. Thank you for checking.
Okay. All right. At this time, is there a motion to seek adjournment of our meeting today?
I will make that motion.
I will second the motion.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned for this morning. We want to thank everybody and thank our elections folks, and keep up the good work. You got one more solid week of having at it looks like. So, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.